The sky above Burkina Faso was dark with thunderclouds. Winds howled across the savannah, bending tall grasses like waves in a green ocean. At the edge of the forest, a river swelled with rain, its waters raging and foaming as if the earth itself had broken free from calm. President Ibrahim Traoré stood at the riverbank, his red beret pulled low against the rain. He had always believed that leadership was not about titles or thrones, but about standing where others would not. And now, at this wild moment, he found himself staring at the rivers, fury as though it was testing him personally. Through the roar of the water came a sound, high, fragile, and desperate. It was not human. It was the cry of life clinging to the edge of death. He looked closer. There, caught in the current, a tiny lion cub struggled to keep its head above the waves. Its golden fur was darkened by the river, its eyes wide with terror. For a second, time froze. Ibrahim felt his heart race. He was no stranger to danger. He had seen battles. He had seen men fall, but this was different. This was innocence drowning. And in that gaze, the cub's eyes locked with his, as if pleading, "Will you let me go? Or will you fight for me?" Without hesitation, Ibrahim removed his jacket, threw aside his boots, and plunged into the water. The river was merciless, pulling him under, spinning him like a leaf in a storm. But his strokes were powerful, born of a will that had carried him through fire before. Inch by inch, he pushed toward the fragile body. When at last his hands closed around the cub, it clawed at him, not out of malice but out of terror. He pulled it against his chest, shielding it from the waves. With one arm he swam, with the other he held onto life itself. Exhausted, bruised, but unbroken, he reached the shore. The cub coughed weakly, trembling in his arms. Ibrahim smiled despite the mud on his face. "You're safe," he whispered, though he knew the cub could not understand. But then the air changed. The grasses stirred with a movement that was not the wind. From the shadows, golden eyes appeared, one pair, then 5, then 10. A pride of lions stepped into view, their bodies massive, their presence undeniable. The king of beasts had come to claim its own. Ibrahim froze, still holding the cub. He was surrounded. The lions' muscles rippled under their coats, their breath rising in heavy clouds against the rain. For any other man, this was the end. But Ibrahim did not run. He did not raise his hands in fear. Instead, he slowly lowered the cub to the ground. The little one stumbled, weak but alive, and crawled toward the pride. Then, Ibrahim did something no one could have imagined. He bowed his head. Not in defeat, not in terror, but in respect. A gesture older than words, older than kingdoms. The lions watched. The leader of the pride, a great male with a manner like fire, stepped forward. It sniffed the cub, then lifted its gaze to the man who had defied the river for a long moment's silence. Reigned. Man and beast, predator and protector, locked in a communion beyond speech. And then, it happened. The lion turned away. The others followed. Not in attack, but in recognition. As Ibrahim began to walk back toward the forest path, the pride moved with him, not as hunters, but as escorts. They formed a circle, walking in solemn silence around him, their golden bodies gleaming in the stormlight. It was as though nature itself had appointed them his honor guard. For every step he took, the earth seemed to acknowledge him. For every breath, the wind seemed to carry a message. This is a leader who understands. No army could have given him such a guard. No crown could have shone brighter than those eyes walking beside him. Hidden at the edge of the trees, a few villagers had seen everything. At first they trembled, expecting to witness tragedy. But what they saw instead left them unable to speak. Word spread like wildfire. Soon, the story crossed villages, cities, and borders. Newspapers and broadcasts repeated it. The president who bowed before lions. Some called it myth, some dismissed it as legend. Yet for those who had been there, the memory was seared into their souls. It was not about survival. It was about something greater, an understanding. That compassion can bridge the gap between man and the wild. Days later, Ibrahim spoke nothing of it in public. To him, it was not a tale for politics but a personal encounter with the spirit of the earth. Yet, those who saw him afterwards swore that his eyes carried a deeper fire, and his voice a gentler strength. And in the silence of the savannah, if one listened closely, One could almost hear the echo of that moment, a cub's cry, a bowed head, and the footsteps of lions walking beside a man. Not fact, not fiction, something beyond both, something that belongs not to history, but to the heart.